Finality's Auger is the second most recent dungeon exotic releasing alongside the Sundered Doctrine Dungeon in early 2025, and initially the weapon did not receive a huge amount of attention when it came to endgame damage strategies, but that was mostly because at the time the dominant meta was Queenbreaker with Particle Reconstruction, and it was very hard to beat. However, as soon as the Fate Saga began and the Heresy meta rotated out, Finality's Auger became the tool to use for almost any endgame damage encounter, and as of the making of this video, it still is. So today I'm going to show you how to effectively use this weapon to its fullest potential and catapult your DPS to competitive levels, as well as providing some context on why the weapon is so strong in the first place. Also, before we begin, I encourage you to join our community Discord server. It's no secret that Destiny is a little dry at the moment, which makes finding groups for raids and dungeons, aka places where you might be able to test and practice with weapons like Finality's Auger or just obtain it in the first place, a little more difficult. Fortunately, our server is full of people who are willing to play and help, and we'd also just love to have you. Link is in the description. Okay, so first, a quick breakdown on how the weapon works, for those of you who only recently acquired the weapon or are simply just looking for a refresh. Finality's Auger is a solar linear fusion rifle. However, you will likely never use the actual linear fusion component of it, and furthermore, it's actually recommended that you don't. It's purely a waste of time and ammo because the DPS just isn't competitive enough. The main trait, Ruin Scribe's Forge, is a little wordy, so here's the simple version. Holding your reload key will switch the weapon into create turret mode, as seen in the bottom left corner. Then firing the weapon will create an autonomous turret a fair distance away from you, which will then fire on the closest nearby enemy. The maximum targeting range is 70 meters, and more importantly, the lifetime of the turret is exactly 25 seconds, which is very important to remember for later when we discuss optimal DPS rotations. It's also worth noting that creating the turret costs only 3 ammo, with the weapon holding a maximum of 21 shots, which is 7 turrets overall. And also, making the turret automatically reloads the weapon, so you don't have to worry about reloading provided you are strictly using the turret mode, which you should be. Additionally, while your turret is active, your weapon status now changes to Ruin Scribe turret mode, again as seen in the bottom left corner, and this mode will now allow you to paint either a surface or an enemy, making your turret fire into that enemy or surface provided there are enemies within the painted area. This is important because the secondary trait, Ruin Scribe's Beacon, states that the turret prioritizes targets and fires more powerful munitions at them. And as you can see by this side-by-side comparison, the DPS versus a painted target is around 2.4 times higher, so you must be using this mechanic in order to get the most out of the weapon. You can also hold reload again while your turret is active to switch back into the linear fusion mode. However, like I said earlier, this isn't recommended because the damage just isn't up to par. When your turret expires after 25 seconds, if you didn't change to the linear mode at all and stayed in the paint mode, the weapon automatically switches back to the create turret mode and you can fire another turret and start over again without having to special reload. Finally, the catalyst for this weapon grants the bait and switch trait, which not only increases the damage of it by an additional 30% when active, but also creates a whole new skill ceiling which must be mastered in order to use it effectively, which don't worry, I have a method for you later which will allow you to have 99% uptime on the perk that won't stretch your brain. Okay, now that you know how the weapon works at a basic level, let's quickly discuss why it has become so popular in the first place. Then we'll get into some damage rotation tutorials. First of all, the weapon very much lends itself to a set it and forget it type of playstyle, where as soon as you make the turret, you basically don't need to worry about anything else and can just carry on with your other damage options in the meantime. It's very similar to Anarchy, where you would stick a target with a couple grenades, then go to something like a sniper rifle while they tick away in the background. And in all honesty, Anarchy walked so Finality's Auger could run. It's the upgrade. Finality's Auger also has an excellent ammo economy. As you saw from earlier, it only takes 3 ammo to create a turret and you hold 21 shots, and a standard non-enhanced heavy brick gives 3 ammo back. So basically 1 brick equals 1 turret, and an enhanced brick with a solar scavenger gives 5 ammo, which is really good. Because the ammo economy is so good, this actually means you can use your turret during, say, the mechanics phase of a boss fight repeatedly and still have enough ammo for damage, which is a habit you should very much begin to learn. Furthermore, the turret itself doesn't pull aggro from enemies, meaning it can't be shot down, which is excellent for its longevity, but probably the biggest reason Finality's Auger is so goddamn popular right now is because the current DPS meta for most bosses is super spam, particularly with ones like Thundercrash or Celestial Nighthawk. And if there's one thing that Finality's Auger is really good at, it's generating your super energy. Just take a look at this clip here. Yes, this is with a roaming super, which naturally generates at an improved rate, but it's still rather staggering how quickly you're able to build your super with this weapon, even more so when paired with a rocket pulse rifle, useful because number one, they also generate a ton of super, and two, they deal really good damage. So about that damage, let's now discuss how to optimize your setups. This section is what I'll refer to as level 1, and it involves Finality's Auger and 1 rocket pulse rifle, and at time of recording, your options are either Mint Retrograde or the Psi Eterna 4. Firstly, the hardest parts about using Finality's Auger effectively are managing your bait and switch timer, assuming you have the catalyst, which you should, and I know the quest is long and boring, but trust me, it's worth it. Back to the point though, the main problem with it is the fact that you can't actually see your bait and switch timer when swapping off the weapon. And second, managing when to create a new turret as soon as you possibly can, because again, the game doesn't give you a timer on your turret, but I do have a good way around both of these. For starters, managing bait and switch. The best way for when to know when to reproc the perk is to just use another weapon with bait and switch, and luckily enough, Mint Retrograde does indeed feature it, so all you need to do is repeat after me. So the easiest way to maintain bait and switch on your Finality's Auger is, like I said, to use another weapon with bait and switch, and here is what that looks like. So we're going to create our turret like normal, paint the target, going to swap to our secondary, and then we're going to activate bait and switch on our Mint Retrograde, and as you can see in the bottom left, it is ticking all the way down, and we have bait and switch activated on our Finality as well. This has around 2 seconds left, and when that is done, I can just swap back to my SMG here, then back to my Mint, which is going to proc bait again on my Mint, and bait and switch again on my Finality turret. So there we go. That's just a very easy way of maintaining your bait and switch order. Just look at the timer on your Mint. That's all you need to do. That's all you need to pay attention to. Next, knowing when to recreate your turret becomes easier again if you use the bait and switch timers to assist you, because let's be honest, counting down from 25 in your head while also doing damage and swaps might just be a little too much. So remember how the turret lasts for 25 seconds? Well, a full enhanced bait and switch timer lasts for 11, meaning 2 triggers of the perk is 22 seconds, then add in another 3 seconds to account for swap times and such. Basically, what I'm trying to say is after 2 full bait and switch procs, that is when you make a new turret. So next order of business, when to know when to recreate your turret. Well, like I said, we can use the bait and switch timers once again, so here is what that looks like. Gonna create the turret, gonna go here, I'm gonna go here, and we're gonna activate bait and switch on our Mint Retrograde, so I can fire a few shots here and there. I think you are able to fire around 11 before you need to reproc bait and switch, so that's about to happen. Do 1 and 1 more here, then another bit of SMG, then reproc bait, and here we have a small problem where we run out of Mint ammo, basically, and, well, we still have the bait and switch timer, so I'll just wait for that to run out. 3, 2, 1, and it's around now that the turret disappears, as you can see there, so now is the perfect time to make another one. Like I said, it lines up very well with 2 procs of bait and switch, but obviously there is a problem with ammo loss. Mint Retrograde did take a ammo nerf in Renegades. It went from 18 to 14, so when you run out of ammo, what can you do to deal good DPS in the meantime? You have a primary here, so what's the solution? Is there anything better? Simple, just use another rocket pulse, which in our case will be the Psi Eterna 4, where the best roll is one with Blast Distributor, Elemental Honing, as well as the Accelerated Assault Origin trait, which with a 7 mag lets you shoot 12 shots in a row without needing to reload, and I believe with an 8 mag you don't need to reload at all, basically giving you rewind rounds completely for free. Safe to say that Accelerated Assault is pretty busted. Okay, so here's how to do the full level 2 rotation. I'm also going to include the usage of Surges, Transcendence, and Super in this, just so you get an idea of when to use them. So to start off with, going to go with a turret, then pop Transcendence at the same time, paint Carl, I'm going to proc bait, and then I'm going to go into my Super. Then I'm going to run down the rest of the bait and switch timer on my Mint, shooting around 10 shots or so. So we have 3, 2, 1 there. I think I can get one more shot maybe. There we go. And I can go back to my Psi Eterna, then back to Mint, run down the timer of bait and switch. Out of ammo now, so I'm going to go back to Psi Eterna, try to get some accelerated assault procs to get my reloads going. Then I can just reload here, create a new turret. I'm going to go back into this, and I've almost got my super back, so I should get that within the next couple shots or so. I'm going to proc courage with a grenade and into my super here, and I have 2 ammo left, and there we go. So it's about 3,000 DPS. In fact, I'm just going to break that there. By the way, you can break your own turret if you didn't know that. So it's around 3,000 DPS with a total of around 112,000. Now, if you saw the timer that was going on the screen, that lasted around, 30 to 40 seconds of DPS. That is, pretty good. 112,000 in that time frame is very good. These 2 rotations, level 1 and level 2, so either single pulse or double pulse, they are pretty good for bursty bosses, as in that 30 to 40 second time frame. But if you want to use Finality and take even more advantage of the total damage, that is what the next level up is going to do for you. The third level is actually a Titan specific setup where you're swapping between Finality, a Rocket Pulse like Mint, and an SMG like Antidate while using the Peacekeeper's exotic boots. And the method is to shoot one shot of your Rocket Pulse, then empty the mag of your SMG and repeat, while firing a new turret every 3 SMG dump cycles. And while this one isn't the most practical, with it being geared solely towards total damage, and as you can see by the clip, it takes a really long time to get through all of your Mint ammo, I still thought it was worth highlighting because it just shows how versatile Finality's Auger can be. Need it for DPS and super spam? Sure, just use double pulse. Need it for high total damage? Sure, just use PKs and a pulse while spacing shots optimally. Ultimately though, the sweet spot for Finality is any DPS phase that lasts between 20 to 40 seconds, as it's within that time frame that you can get off all of your ammo and not be left sitting there with nothing, because then it becomes a game of either finding more ammo or using alternative strategies. So that about does it for the DPS basics on Finality's Auger. I hope you learned something new, and if you found the video helpful, dropping a like helps me with the algorithm, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. Speaking of, if there's any other weapons or DPS strategies you'd like me to break down and teach, definitely let me know down in the comments below. Also, I just wanted to address the lack of uploads recently. Yeah, there's a bit of burnout mixed in there, but also there's just not a lot going on with Destiny right now, especially in the coming months. If Shadow and Order is indeed delayed, time will tell on that one though. But I've also just been pretty busy doing other stuff. I took a short trip to Finland last week to see some family I hadn't seen in over 10 years. I've also just finished setting up a brand new dedicated office space for my work and streaming, and that took quite a few days to fully get up and running. And I'm only now just settling back in really, so sorry for the fewer videos than usual. I'll be working to get back on a more regular schedule promptly. Anyway, that's all for today. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now, dear viewer.